Handsome John Compton, welcome to my show. Really, really thrilled to have you. How are you tonight?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Gosh, the mothership, the good Lord is good to me right now. It's good to me, Lord. How you doing,
Beautiful.
man?
I got two arms and two legs. What could I complain about, right?
And five fingers, man.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, my favorite five.
And I still have a few marbles, and I have about two left.
Yeah, and we're keeping them tight.
Yes, because I don't want to lose another one.
Yeah, allegedly not the only two balls that you have left, right?
Yes, and I still have morals.
Yeah,
And I stand by both of them.
right. And if you don't like them, well, I have others. John, it's great to see you. And like full disclaimer, get it out there that you and I lived together for a couple of years in our awesome rock band traveling the country.
I was never the same.
Before or after.
I know, dude. It was you're absolutely from Acid Guy to Bart and jumping on a train. Oh my gosh, dude.
We had a lot of great adventures. But here's the thing, and here's what that everyone wants to know, and what I want to know. Where did it all start from you? How did you get into a musical entertainment path? Where did it all start?
Uh, Donny Osmond, David Cassidy. That's pretty
Nice.
much where it started. I performed the first time in third grade. But yeah, I just started there, man. I always performed in talent shows and stuff. But I grew up in, God, I hate to even say it. I grew up in a rural area of the Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia Valley of Huntington, West Virginia, but actually Barbersville. But I say Kentucky because, as you know, the Malachi Ranch was in Rush, and I spent a lot of time at that farm growing up.
I didn't know until you just said so.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time at that farm, and it was one of the best. That's where I learned to ride horses. That's where, man, that's what I really learned to ride horses. Um, and it was an interesting area. A lot of interesting people, a lot of interesting artists have come from that area. The Judds, Ricky Skaggs, Billy Ray.
Well, it's certainly coal miners' country. I mean, the tri-state area there. It's
Yeah,
where the working man comes from.
and it's funny because I think Loretta Lynn was a little up in the Welch area of West Virginia, but that whole Appalachian area just had a very interesting. That's why Kid Rock was just insane. Um, Guys like Kid Rock with kind of like the redneck rap kind of thing always did well in our area.
Well, that would be because we're predominantly rednecks and hillbillies.
Yeah,
And
except for the Stone Temple Pilots. You know, it was funny. Right before their Plush album came out, right before it, they played a place called the Monkey in West Virginia. I couldn't believe it. I was living in Myrtle Beach at the time, and I remember.
I think I remember the monkey
Yeah, you remember the Monkey? Yeah, yeah. I think you do because I think it started like in '90 and
after us, post
yeah,
us. Yeah.
right after, but it was close after us because I remember Bone playing there a lot. And what's funny is they played there right before it came out, and I was just happened to be home, and Genghis, remember Genghis Kevin Khan, he said, "Hey man, they're playing, let's go." So we lit, and what was it, Scott Weiland? He came out in a dress, came out in a fucking dress, man, in full drag, and I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, you could probably get away with that in Myrtle Beach, but not here. And everybody started pelting their lighters. I don't know why they picked that as the weapon of choice,
Yeah.
but he was getting pelted by lighters. Just boom, boom. They played one song and then part of another song and then they left.
Yeah. I don't blame them.
Yeah, man.
I
I mean,
don't
that was
blame them.
crazy. I was like, dude, you're what an idiot.
Well, for anyone that's ever seen that video, the Wild Whites of West Virginia, I tell them as that is spot on. Everybody I knew,
Dude,
not everybody I knew, not everybody, but
I used to inhale gasoline by the cans. Think
yeah,
I'd be so fucked up. And I kissed my mama on the jaw, and I said, "Goodbye, mama. I'm going to jail. Bye bye." But
Yeah, it's
he's like bragging. I used to huff it by the cans. He's like,
the huff it by the can.
dude,
So
he
John,
Disco White. He used
let's
to say.
jump back to third grade, right?
Yeah, sorry.
So
Yeah,
you're
third grade, and
you're
then
turned on by
around
the
junior,
gyrations of the David Cassidy.
yeah, the gyrations of David Cassidy. I did like Donny Osmond and the Osmond stuff, just
Yeah.
insane. It was like, and then I had my older brother Mitch. Remember Mitch?
Oh yeah.
Which I really credit. We had an older neighbor across the street that was just about 3 years older, but just enough to get these cool albums. And Mitch would start bringing home Kiss and the New York Dolls and all these just great Tommy Bolin and Zeppelin and all this stuff. And I was like, wow. I remember looking at the first Kiss cover being kind of scared because I think I was in third grade when I first saw it, because that was 73. Wow. And I remember getting a little creeped out by it. And then we played it. And I remember the first time it played Black Diamond at the very end and how it slowed down. I remember, yeah. And I remember getting really freaked out when I first heard it.
Oh my
I couldn't
God.
stop playing it. And then I know
The devil's gonna come out of the record player.
I know
Right
it's great,
here.
man. But it was just awesome. I don't know. It's just, but I love the Dolls. I love Bowie. And that was and man, Alice Cooper. I remember all this stuff. Bad Company. I still remember that first album right after Mott the Hoople broke up. You know, when Bad Company formed after Mott broke up. And I remember putting that disc on the record and hearing Can't Get Enough. Oh my God. I mean, you never get moments like that again, ever.
That
And
is the jump to light speed when you go from a kid that I'm just listening to pop music kind of thing, and then you jump to something to what really reached out to you. You know.
I mean, that Bad Company album really reached out. There have been a few bands that really influenced me, and then around junior high school, bands like the Cars, Nick Gilder. I like Nick Gilder, even his non-commercial stuff. Remember Hot Child in the City, Nick Gilder. I was listening to Deep Purple. I mean, and then I discovered funk. I love the soul. Man, I loved it all, really. Shit. I mean, as far as country, I didn't really like the pop country so much, but I liked the outlaw stuff like Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson.
Well, another thing too, it's like, it's not like you could avoid it
Yeah,
because of your
the area I was
geographical
in.
location. I mean, that's what was happening. That was on the radio. That was what you saw the billboards for. That was the festival that was coming to town.
Yeah, you're right,
The
man.
rock and roll sprinkles were something that was an occasion that would come to Charleston.
Yeah, because Black Sabbath came, and I remember seeing them. I went to the best concert, and Huntington was actually a little cultural place. And the Death Rattle, the last gasp was when we were there. That was like when it was really the last breath of it.
Late 80s.
Yep.
Well, the end of the industrial era.
Because I remember that was the year that they did a 13-city tour of Linda McCartney's photos. Like it was an art display, and Huntington was on it at the art gallery. Remember that set on the hill? They don't put it there now. I mean, it was a select 13.
I don't. My memories from Huntington.
Yeah, man. I mean, they wouldn't do that now. I think it was in '88, somewhere around in there. I think it was.
Well, let me ask you this: so, what kind of performance entertainment were you getting into in junior high school?
So you put together rock stuff. I had, well, I had it for some. Oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but for some reason, I was listening to Motley Crue in junior high school. I mean, in high school. Got in the Crew in '81. I remember that first Motley album. I loved it. In some ways, that's my favorite album.
Too Fast for Love.
Yeah, that was a great album. And what else was I getting into at the time? Priest. I remember I got that Screaming for Vengeance. I think
now let me stop you right there for a second. When you're getting these Judas Priest albums, Your
Yeah.
parents can't be really thrilled about this.
Well, I didn't have much guidance, Pete. I mean,
Okay, I'll take that as in the plus column.
yeah, yeah. I mean, looking back on the way I acted, I mean, you can just tell because I didn't have a lot of guidance about anything.
I was free range. I mean, I dig that.
Yeah. Well, I just wish I had been told a few things. I mean, a few basic things.
Well, don't we all?
Yeah.
A little heads up would have been nice. You could have told me.
Hey, a little heads up will be nice.
Little
Let's
heads
write
up
that
would have
down.
been nice. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
And
not how that goes. So you're in junior high school and you're getting into new music.
I'm in high school, and I remember,
Okay.
well, nothing really changed much. I did like AC/DC. I remember that.
Yeah.
All those influences. I mean, God, everything. I remember Cameo, the real funk bands, not like the Daz
Show
band.
to see you whip it, then you whip it right.
That was
You
wasn't that the
whip it,
Daz
baby.
band?
That's a Daz band.
Yeah, and Cameo, and who else?
I love Cameo. I'm trying to think of the hit right now.
Word Up.
That's right.
Wave your hands in the air like you don't care.
Word
Korn.
Up.
Korn does a great version of that.
No way.
Korn, yeah, Korn does it.
That's what I get for not listening to music.
It goes boom, 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 boom. I mean, they're just crunching it, man.
Word Up.
Yep.
Around the world.
Yeah. And they go, tell your mama, your daddy, and your sister too. Oh my God.
That is really
They were great,
so,
man. They had songs like Shake Your Pants. And then that was around the time I was really going, because remember how I was always a dancer, John the cheerleader.
Really?
You know.
Yes, I've seen you dance. And let me just
I'll send you a cheerleading picture also.
Oh yeah. Well, just let me say this: that I've seen you dance for several years, and you're a very good dancer.
Yes, I was. I used to win a lot of dance contests, and
Give you that.
And I did take I took dance classes when I was in high school, and that was a lot of fun. I had a blast. Then I cheered in college, and then, but by that time I already had a band, and we were called Equus. A guy named Jeff Westlake I played with. He ended up playing with
What was the name again?
Hydrogen was the band that he
Hydrogen.
started. Yeah, Jeff Westlake actually went on to a band to form Hydrogen, but our band was called Equus.
Equus.
It's Latin for a rocking horse.
Gotcha.
Equus.
We found out it meant prison rape. I had no idea.
Yeah.
The translation before the internet. Who knew?
Yeah, we found out. Oh my God.
Okay, so you got this group going.
You're such an ancestral being.
As you're reaching back, man.
But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh my God, what was I talking about?
You just talked about Equitus.
Yeah, Equus. Oh my God. And then I was in college, and I guess I could talk about this because it really did form. Yeah, it was a formation, man. Everything was going good. Everything was going great. I was actually popular in college. I was cheering. And then I was in a play. I was in Guys and Dolls. I was in this musical. I did a few. The sky is blue and all the leaves are green.
Whoa. You singing and dancing?
Yeah. It was
Hard
so
to
hilarious.
believe.
And by the way, I do have a project, Pete, called Porno the Musical. We'll talk about that one later.
Can't wait.
Hilarious. Oh my God, it's hilarious.
Wait, I can almost guess the ending.
Oh, dude.
Everyone's happy.
So funny. Each song has a specific pinch from a musical.
We'll swing back to we'll swing back to that. Okay.
Yeah, we'll swing back. It's so hilarious. But anyway, so then we had a rap party after the first. Oh, so awesome. I was on top of the world. And this, like, he wasn't a full professor. He was like assistant professor in waiting, I guess. He was one of the student teachers, and he hit on me really hard, like really hit on me, man. Like, wow, assaulting hit on me, like really. Oh, please, and you're so hot, and I'm like, oh my God, and I just freaked out and punched him.
Oh,
I don't know if I ever told you this, but I never talked about it for years.
No, because I thought you're going to say, and I got an A plus.
Oh my God. Well, it's funny because I remember when he went down, I'm like, I just totally knocked him out. And I was so freaked out. I remember they kicked me out of school. All this shit. I was
They kicked
facing.
you out of school.
Yeah, I told
But
him
what about the allegations?
well, they were protecting the teacher. Well, the director didn't really like me anyway because I was dating the lead. She was a senior. Her name was Yeva Duncan. I don't know if I should go on the record or not. And she was beautiful, gorgeous, talented. And here I was just barely, I was 18, like in 3 weeks, I think it was.
Yeah.
And she was like 21. And we just hit it off. I had a blast. She lived in this flattened town. I was spreading my wings. I was loving it.
And to drop this too, I mean, at that age, you're still 6'4" at that point, right?
Oh, dude, yeah. Well, I was 6'5" by that time. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, you're not
6'5".
blending in with the other
Not at all,
teenagers.
man. And
Yeah,
plus,
someone
I
wants
had
to
a
see
little
some
bit of,
ID.
well, I had a bi-level really bad. Like
Yeah.
I had the bi-level, like the mullet. I hate to say mullet, but I did. I had the mullet, and it was kind of long in the back.
Yeah, it was all business in the front, though.
Yeah, but it was all business in the front. I had it tied back a lot. But what was funny is I went to court and man, they were killing me. I thought, oh, they were killing me. And I remember the judge taking me aside and says, look, they want to charge you with intent to kill, like assault and battery with the intent to kill. Yeah. I was like, whoa. And the judge is like, I believe you. Because they were saying I just walked up to him and hit
If
him.
you just come back here and just suck on this,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go. Then I hit the judge.
But I was freaking out. And then he goes, if I can get you out of here, and if you join the military, I'll just get you out of town right away. Will you yeah, I know. Will you and I said, okay. I
Yeah.
just didn't want to roll the dice on
Oh yeah, absolutely.
because I was fighting the school, and you know how that whole town's a school,
Of course.
and so I went in really bitter, Pete. I was so bitter, but you're gonna love this. When I got into the service, I was so bitter.
Wait a
Went
second.
through
Wait.
basic
What branch of did they give
Air
you the
Force.
choice of
Yeah.
branch of military?
They gave me the choice. He said, you just go to any recruiting center and just go. I said, okay.
Wait, and your
Air
first
Force.
thought is like, where do I go where I don't sleep in a ditch?
I know. So I went Air Force. And well, it was a choice between Air Force and Army and Navy. The Marines.
Navy, you get a cot.
Yeah. So I said, look, I don't like sea at all. So I'll just do Air Force. So I did Air Force, and everything was
Where
cool. I
I can
remember
stay
the
on the
second,
ground.
well, I remember the second day I was there in basic. That's when I realized that you're not an individual. You cannot stand out.
They, and that was the
You
day that
cannot
I
stand out.
realized
And
they don't
know
know
how-
individualism.
So
I got my own march and everything. Wait till they hear my song.
I got my own marks and everything. What's funny is, what's hilarious,
I
man,
know
is
it's true.
I had like a TI. I had a lady TI. It was about 5'1" or 2, and
What is
maybe 100.
TI? Titty inspector.
Drill sergeant. Drill sergeant.
DI.
Huh?
You said TI.
Yeah, TI. Well, DI is Army. TI
Yeah.
is Air Force.
Oh, okay.
It's technical instructor.
Copy that.
That's what it means.
Okay.
Yeah, she was my
Clarify
technical
that.
instructor. Yeah, they changed it. Like we don't go. Army is what, platoon, right? And Air Force is flight. You know what I'm saying? Like a platoon of men and a flight of
Yes.
men in Air Force. Like
I
you're a
believe
flight. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like there's
Yep.
different little, I don't know how it is now. It might be Rainbow Man. I don't know.
Bro, you
But
and I,
anyway.
we used to play military bases. That's as close as I ever got. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
you're
true.
in basic training, and what's happening?
Yeah, I'm in basic training. And the second day, she comes up. She's like, but she had a really hot body. And I remember saying that she asked me, Airman Compton, I forgot what she asked me. And I said, Airman Compton reports as ordered, ma'am. I said, ma'am, the sergeant. She told me, I remember her corrected me saying, call her sergeant. So I said, sergeant. I said, you look really hot in those uniform, sergeant. And dude, she buckled up in a second. And I mean, it wasn't even a millisecond. Wham! Boom! Right in my nose. It was bloody. I had to go to the infirmary. She fractured it right here. And for the rest of the 6 weeks, I had a freaking thing on my nose. And I took it off for the picture, but you can tell my nose. But she just punched me. And that's when I shut up for the whole 6 weeks. I didn't say one more word.
What was the next time you told her how good looking she was?
Oh, no, this is where it gets good. Okay, when I went to tech school, This is in Shepherd Air Force Base, and I was working I was studying to be a licensed practical nurse, dude, an LPN. Isn't that crazy?
What? No, because I could see you being very good at that.
Yeah, and I was studying to do that, so I aced everything because I'm telling you, man, everybody was stupid. Oh God. I mean, I'm good. I'm definitely blonde.
I'm definitely dumb, but these people.
But these people were freaking stupid, you know. I mean, but what's funny is when I got oh God, there's a lot of sex happening when everybody got to tech school. But after tech school, I really wanted to go overseas and see what was up. But they stationed me out.
Was there any women involved in all the sex?
Oh my God, dude, it was crazy. I mean, it's like we all went ape shit after basic. We got our first leave and everybody just went to this. Dude, don't say that. Please don't put that in there, man. Okay, everybody went to this. Put that in there, man. I really don't want that in there, man. Please. Because I think if this. So I went when they stationed me in Albuquerque. And when I got there, I worked at the Kirtland Air Force.
This was after orgy weekend at the Motel 6.
It was crazy for about 8 more weeks. So then
8 weeks.
It was about 8 more weeks, and then well, it was weird because then after that, the rest was on the job training, and it was wild because the first day I was at Kirtland, the hospital, I worked in the nursery, and everybody fell in love with me at the nursery because I'm telling you, man, I used to work. I wanted midnight so bad because I didn't like a lot of brass, and there wasn't a lot of people there at night. Like it was 11 to 6 in the morning. That was the shift. And I would just sing to the newborns, just sing all night to them.
I bet.
And it was
perfect for you.
And all the mothers loved me, dude. I could tell you a couple stories about the mothers that were really weird.
Yeah.
But there was this one head nurse, literally. Her name was Captain Salmons. I'll leave the first name off. I don't know what. I think she ended up being a major, but I was 18. She was 32 at the time. And
good ratio.
I remember she cornered me one.
Because right there, you're both in your prime.
She was like, oh, dude, it was insane. And then I remember here's when it got bad is I started getting with this girl. I remember her coming up, she made a little spill, but I remember getting cornered by the brass. They had a meeting about it. Like, are you doing something inappropriate with Captain Simmons? Because I could have gone to Leavenworth because I was enlisted. She was an officer.
And this is when you reach deep down into all of your acting training.
and I said, no, there's nothing going on. And she said the same thing.
Yep.
And it was great. And she looked at me and she goes, oh, thank you, John, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, you're, because man, I said, I don't want to get in trouble and I don't want you to get the rap, you know, but she was smokingly hot. But this is right after that happened. I started, okay, Given, this is really interesting, Pete, follow me here. Given, when I left the base, I didn't want anyone to think I was in the service. The way I dressed, I used to take clothes with me. I used to wear spikes.
Much like the Amish children when they go into town.
Yes, exactly. I was like an Amish child, taking my clothes into town with me.
I'd
And
hide them in the bushes from the locals.
but I did. I had my Nikki Six boots. I had my leather, and my hair was starting to grow out, and I'd always jacket straight up like Billy Idol, you know.
Red leather, right?
Oh God, yes, and a red leather jacket too. But that was the first thing I went. I went to Fredericks of Hollywood in Albuquerque and bought my first check when I got to Kirtland. I went and bought red boots. I didn't go buy a tactical box or anything. I bought red boots, knee-high boots.
Yeah. Nothing creepy has ever happened in the Fredericks of Hollywood in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You can count on that. You could count on that.
Anyway, what's funny is I started going out with this girl. She had no idea I was in the service. Finally, she figured it out. I said, yeah, I just got here. I'm really depressed. She goes, it doesn't bother me in the service. You look cool when we go out. It's great. We were going to Grand Central Station, hitting all the cool rock clubs. And Pete, like I said in that last interview, there was a cool little area like from LA all the way to Texas. That was like our route. You know what I mean?
I-10.
Like LA would go all the way to like, I think it was Arlington and all the way to El Paso. And then back up. It was like that was like the route, the circuit. Excuse me. But anyway,
covered wagons.
So I meet all these people, and that's when I met. And I was still in the service, and I was banging her for 2 nights there. Yeah, dude, it was great. And then, man, don't put that up because she does a lot of shows now. I want to give her a little bit of respect, please. But what happened was, she goes, well, why don't you start, if you're going to be here for a while, why don't you sing in a band? You can do that on your off time. I'm like, okay. So I tried out for a Heart Attack and did it. I'll go down the road a little bit. Within a year, we were really getting a rep. And then we did this Battle of the Bands and won it. And then everybody, I'm telling you, dude, we started getting played on the radio. That Time Keeps Slipping Away song. We started getting played on the radio, and it was getting really crazy.
Okay.
And then one big night we did with Anthrax. This is when we opened for Anthrax. It was starting to leak on the bass a little bit. I was trying to keep it separate, but now it's starting to leak on the bass now. And girls would come to the fucking nursery.
So you're in the Air Force.
Yes.
For a year in Albuquerque.
Yes.
And you're sneaking out to be in a rock band locally. And then you have the unfortunate incident happens that you start to get some success. It's like a 70s sitcom, John.
And this is even funnier. I had friends, they did Leavenworth crap, Pete. God, man, I talked to him not too long ago, a couple of years ago. We're supposed to get together. God, I got to get in touch with him again. But he was my buddy. He was my dorm buddy, and we just were really tight. And he was like covering for me, like, man, I got this gig, and he'd sign me in. He'd sign me in like 11 o'clock, and he'd kind of work late and he'd sign out because there were no brass to do anything about it, you know. And he would just work and take over my shift. And then when I rolled in about 2, 3, I would work till 6. But that was back when you just wrote your name in pencil, you know. It was crazy. And
we loved the pencil system because that included the eraser system.
Yeah, he was a Mexican, Hispanic. He was a Hispanic gentleman.
He was an Hispanic American, allegedly.
Anyway,
there you are. You're in Heart Attack, and the rumor gets to the base.
Yeah, so they
Private Compton.
And there's a seaman. There's a senior master sergeant. Senior master sergeant that comes up to me, puts a pencil, or I think it was a pen or something that he put in my hair, and he measured it. So that's what, like, I didn't have it greased down like Barney Fife did. Remember how Barney Fife had those long bangs? Well, that's how I did it. And by that time, I was working mid shifts. So I always wore this the suture,
What's the pencil all about?
well, I'll tell you here in a minute. The
Okay.
little caps that we wear, how surgical teams will wear, what are they called?
Yes.
I forget what they're called. But what I'm
Surgical
talking
mask.
about.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would wear that,
Those little
and I would
caps.
always, yes, and I'd always go back. By that time, after about 8 months, I was living off base, and I would just travel off of base with my cap, but I never cut my hair.
You're hiding your hair in your cap.
Yeah, but whenever we did like TDY or a roll call or something, I always would, and I put Dippity Doo. I always had Dippity Doo with me. I had like 4 or 5 cans of it just stashed everywhere, just in
Dippity
case,
do.
just so I could get it all up and stick the hat on,
Yep.
really tight, and so by that time they saw my hair and they were freaking out. They're going, which one is it? Because the other guys had long hair, but the other guys didn't even know I was in the service yet. Had no idea. It's just like that thing you do. When I saw that, I was like, man, did I ever tell Tom Hanks about that story? Yeah, I remember that same night they said he stuck the pencil in and he measured it. He marked it with the pencil, and then he pulled out this little tape measure and measured it. It can't be 2.5 inches from your head. It has to be like an inch from your head. And mine was like jacked, and it jacked like this,
Okay.
And yeah, they're gonna, just for that. I wasn't.
Whoa. What did he say to you?
He said I wasn't representing Air Force image off base. Like I had the spikes.
Accurate statement, sir. Accurate statement. However, I don't remember that being in my contract.
And I was facing Article 15, man. But I had this second lieutenant, and this is trivia right here. I had this second lieutenant. Do you know how the officer system works in the military a little bit? Well, if you get a college degree, you go in as an officer.
That I knew.
Okay. Well, officers technically can tell a senior master sergeant what to do, even though it doesn't happen too much, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Like a senior master sergeant that's been there for 20 years will say, fuck you, or whatever they say to you.
But a lieutenant's got you.
Yeah, he got you. Yeah. So his name was Lieutenant Edmondson. I forgot his first name.
Dan, Lieutenant Dan.
But this guy, he set me aside and he goes, man, we tested you. You're not doing drugs. I wasn't doing drugs at the time. At the time. And he goes, you're not doing anything wrong, really. He goes, man, I think you're great. He goes, I actually told him to wait until you'd finish the show because they wanted to get me right off the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And he was the one that said, man, let him finish. Don't humiliate the fucker because he's good. I mean, they're up there and, and I was getting paid. I was, and so he sent me aside and he goes, man, it's so, for some reason, we just started talking. He wanted to get to know me a little bit because he didn't know me too well. He goes, give me a second. And then he gets up and then they sit in there for like an hour. And then he goes, okay, you got about 6 weeks. I had about 8. Let me see. By that time, let me see. They based me for about another year, and then I got an early out. They gave me an early out, but they based me for a whole year.
What does that mean?
I couldn't leave the base.
Oh, you couldn't leave the base for a year.
No.
Mr. Compton, your shenanigans with this rock and roll music.
But this is the last straw of the day I was leaving, the day they were giving my papers. Lieutenant said, thank you. I mean, the other guy wanted to arrest me, but I just stayed at the hospital and I worked intensive care and I hated it. It was just horrible. I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to do the job. But I was real depressed because the band broke up.
Oh, sure. And, I mean, you're a prisoner doing something you don't want to do. You were doing.
And I'll tell you something that happened that same night too. Remind me that I have something else to tell you about that night. But the day I left, the sergeant took me because Uncle Sam owns you for about another hour. Because I remember leaving around noon. He took me to the barbershop and they gave me a crew cut.
No.
They gave me a basic training
What a dick.
like it was already short, but he just
What a
did it
dick.
right to the brim, and fucker, you know.
Knowing that the first thing you were going to do is grow your hair out, knowing the first thing you wanted to do,
Yeah. Yep.
knowing that, and he said, hey, before you leave,
Yep.
one
Well, that's
time
exactly
around
what
the
I did.
track.